Picture this, are you're 7 months pregnant with twins. You walk into the most important gala of your career, wearing the silver dress your husband told you to wear. But when you arrive, he's on the red carpet, kissing another woman for the cameras, while you stand there, invisible, holding the company you built with your own hands. What would you do? Charlotte Bennett faced that nightmare. And what happened next? It got so much worse before it got better. This is the story of a woman who lost everything and became unstoppable. Let's begin. The glow of three computer monitors illuminated Charlotte Bennett Hale's face as she typed the final line of code at 11:47 at night, her swollen belly pressed against the desk. 7 months pregnant with twins. But she barely noticed. The algorithm she had just perfected would make Hale Industries' upcoming initial public offering the tech event of the year. Your company credentials have been deactivated per CEO directive. You no longer have access to Hale Industries servers, files, or facilities. This action is effective immediately. Her banking app showed another notification. Joint account access. Frozen. Credit cards declined. Charlie leaned against her car, her legs suddenly weak. 5 years. She had spent 5 years building that company. She had pawned her grandmother's engagement ring to pay the first 3 engineers when their seed funding fell through. She had coded through nights, through morning sickness, through everything. And Ethan had erased her with a single email. A sharp pain lanced through her abdomen, so sudden and fierce that she gasped. Her hand flew to her belly. The babies. Something was wrong. She tried to call Ethan. Voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Her fingers shook as she dialed Paige. Charlie, what's wrong? I saw the videos. Something's wrong with the babies. Charlie could barely get the words out. I'm in the plaza parking garage. There's blood. I'm calling 911. Stay on the line with me. But Charlie's phone slipped from her fingers, clattering on the concrete. The pain intensified, radiating through her entire body. She slid down the side of her car until she was sitting on the cold garage floor, silver dress pooling around her. She could hear Paige's tinny voice from the phone. Charlie, Charlie, talk to me. I'm here, Charlie whispered, but her vision was darkening at the edges. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, growing closer. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was the glow of her phone screen, displaying another notification. Madison Rivers had just posted an article, Hale Industries CEO's wife removed from gala after public outburst. The ambulance lights painted red and blue patterns on the garage ceiling as paramedics rushed toward her. Charlie woke to the steady beep of a heart monitor, sterile white walls, the sharp smell of antiseptic. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then everything came rushing back to gala. Ethan's betrayal, the blood. Her hands flew to her belly. They're stable. A nurse appeared beside the bed, her voice gentle. Both heartbeats are strong. You had a placental abruption, but we caught it in time. You need complete bed rest. Both babies. Charlie's voice was hoarse. Both babies, the nurse confirmed, adjusting the IV line. You were lucky, Mrs. Hale. Another hour and we might have lost them. Charlie closed her eyes, tears of relief sliding down her temples. When she opened them again, Paige was sitting in the visitor's chair, dark circles under her eyes. How long have I been here? 18 hours. They had you sedated. Paige moved closer, taking Charlie's hand. I've been here the whole time. So has your lawyer. My lawyer. I called Rebecca Sterling. She's the best divorce attorney in Manhattan. Paige squeezed her hand. Charlie, you need to see this. She held up her phone. The screen showed the Twitter trending topics. Number 1, justice for Charlotte. Number 3, Hale Industries scandal. Number 7, boycott Hale. The whole internet is on your side, Paige said. TikTok, Instagram, to Twitter. Celebrities are weighing in. There are protests outside Hale Industries headquarters. Charlie scrolled through the pond. A video with 10 million views showed her confrontation with Ethan, set to emotional music. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. This man is trash. She built that company. Pregnant wife forced out while he parades his mistress canceled. For the first time in 24 hours, Charlie felt a flicker of hope. Then her phone buzzed with an incoming call. Ethan. She almost did not answer. But something made her hit accept. Charlie. His voice was tight. We need to talk about your behavior last night. In my behavior, Charlie sat up despite the nurse's warning look. You humiliated me in front of the entire tech industry. You humiliated yourself by making a scene. Now listen carefully. I've filed paperwork to have you removed from the company entirely. You signed a post-nuptial agreement last year giving up all ownership claims. Charlie's blood ran cold. I never signed anything like that. Check your email. My lawyers will send you a copy. The document was notarized and witnessed. You don't have a leg to stand on. Ethan, I would remember signing away my company. It's not your company. It never was. You were support staff. I was the visionary. His voice was calm, matter of fact. My lawyers will also be filing for full custody of the twins. A woman who causes public scenes and ends up hospitalized isn't fit to be a mother. The line went dead. Charlie stared at the phone, her entire body numb. Paige's hand tightened around hers. He can't do that, Paige said. Can he? The door opened and a woman in a sharp navy suit entered. Rebecca Sterling looked like she had walked out of a courtroom drama, silver hair pulled back, steel-rimmed glasses, and an expression that could cut glass. Mrs. Hale, Rebecca said without preamble. Paige filled me in. I've reviewed the public information about your situation. We need to act fast. Ethan says I signed a post-nuptial agreement, Charlie said. He says he's taking the company and the babies. Rebecca opened her briefcase and pulled out a tablet. I had my team pull all filed documents related to Hale Industries. There is indeed a post-nuptial agreement on record, signed, notarized, dated 8 months ago. I didn't sign it. Let me see your signature. Rebecca pulled up the document and held out the tablet. Charlie looked at the scanned signature at the bottom of the legal document. It looked exactly like hers. Every loop, every curve. But she had no memory of signing it. Check the date, Rebecca said. March 15th. Charlie's breath caught. I was in the hospital that day. First trimester bleeding. They gave me sedatives. Rebecca's expression did not change, but her eyes grew colder. Forgery? We can fight this. How? It looks exactly like my signature. Because he traced it or used a digital stamp, we'll get a forensic document examiner. Rebecca started typing notes. But that's not our only problem. The post-nuptial agreement states that in the event of separation, you forfeit all claims to company equity. If it's deemed legitimate, you walk away with nothing. The room tilted. Charlie gripped the bed rail. However, Rebecca continued, you're listed on 40% of the patents. The original artificial intelligence algorithm is registered under your name alone. He needs you to sign those over, which means he doesn't have complete control. Yet, what do? We file for emergency injunction. We prove you built that company and that he's trying to steal it. We expose the forgery and fight for your rights as co-founder. Rebecca leaned forward. But I need to know right now. Mrs. Hale, are you ready to go to war? Charlie thought about Ethan's cold voice on the phone, about Sienna's hand on his arm, about 5 years of her life poured into a company that was about to be stolen from her drawer. She thought about her babies, fighting to survive in her womb. Yes, she said. I'm ready. Rebecca nodded once. Good, because this is going to get ugly. Neither of them knew just how right she was. 4 days later, Charlie sat in Rebecca Sterling's glass-walled office overlooking Central Park. The trees were budding with early spring green, but Charlie barely noticed. She was focused on the documents spread across the conference table. These are your original employment contracts, Rebecca said, pointing to highlighted sections. Notice there's no mention of equity distribution. Ethan structured everything to make it appear you were hired as a consultant, not a co-founder. Paige, sitting beside Charlie, scrolled through her phone. But everyone knows she built the technology. There are old blog posts, tech conference videos. Charlie's fingerprints are all over that company's DNA. Public perception helps, Rebecca agreed. But in court, we need documentation. Charlie, do you have any emails, text, or messages that prove your contribution? Charlie opened her laptop. I have 5 years worth, every algorithm, every design document, every pitch deck. I never deleted anything. She pulled up her personal Gmail account. One Ethan did not have access to and started searching. Message after message appeared Charlie to Ethan, sending completed code, Charlie to investors, explaining technical specifications, Charlie to engineers, solving impossible problems at 2 in the morning. This is gold, Rebecca said, leaning closer. He claimed credit for your work repeatedly. We can prove a pattern of theft. Charlie kept scrolling until she found what she was looking for. An email thread from 5 years ago, when they were first starting the company. Ethan wrote, Charlie's the real genius here. I'm just the face. She deserves 50% equity minimum. He said that. Paige grabbed the laptop. Girl, you've got him. Rebecca took photos of the screen with her phone. I'm filing an emergency motion this afternoon. We'll request a temporary restraining order preventing him from moving any assets or making major company decisions until we resolve the ownership question. Will it work? Charlie asked. New York courts move slowly, but with this evidence and your medical condition, we have a shot. Rebecca's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her expression hardened. We need to move faster. Why bye? Ethan just announced Sienna Vaughn's promotion to Chief Operating Officer. Another all-nighter, babe. Ethan's voice drifted from the bedroom of their Tribeca penthouse. Charlie saved the file and closed her laptop. Just finishing your investor pitch deck. The numbers look incredible. Our pitch deck, Ethan corrected, appearing in the doorway wearing designer pajamas. He crossed the room and kissed the top of her head. We're a team, and remember. Charlie smiled, ignoring the familiar ache in her chest. When had he last acknowledged her work in public? She pushed the thought away. Tomorrow night's gala would change everything. The initial public offering celebration was their moment to shine together. Finally, her phone buzzed. A FaceTime call from Paige Murphy, her best friend since college. Girl, tell me you're not still working, Paige said, her face filling the screen. Behind her, fairy lights twinkled in her downtown loft. Just wrapped up. Big day tomorrow. He's restructuring the board, removing anyone who might be loyal to you. Charlie felt a familiar ache behind her ribs. He's erasing me completely. Not if we stop him. Rebecca stood. Stay here. I need to make some calls. And Charlie, don't talk to Ethan. Don't respond to his lawyers. Every communication goes through me. After Rebecca left, Paige moved closer. Are you okay physically? Charlie touched her belly. The babies had been active all morning, reassuring kicks and rolls. The doctors say I'm stable as long as I avoid stress. Stress, Paige repeated with a bitter laugh. Right, because fighting your soon-to-be ex-husband for your company and your children is super relaxing. Despite everything, Charlie smiled. Paige had that effect. They had met freshman year at MIT, 2 women in a computer science program dominated by men. Paige had gone into social media marketing, building a successful influencer career. But she had never forgotten her roots or her friends. Thank you for being here, Charlie said. I know this is affecting your work. Are you kidding? My followers are eating this up. I've gained 200,000 new subscribers from posting about your story. They want justice. Paige's expression grew serious. But more than that, you're my sister. I'm not going anywhere. Charlie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Grayson Cole, your investor. We need to meet. I have information about Ethan that you'll want to see. She showed Paige the message. Should I? Rebecca said no communication. This isn't Ethan, and Grayson's the one who emailed me about the quarterly numbers right before the gala. Charlie typed back, where and when. The response came immediately. My office, 1 hour, come alone. Paige shook her head. I don't like this. It sounds like a trap. Or it's the break we need. Charlie stood, ignoring her body's protests. I'm going. Then I'm coming with you. Grayson Cole's office occupied the top floor of a building in Hudson Yards. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the Hudson River and New Jersey beyond. The furniture was minimalist, expensive. A single painting hung on the wall, abstract and unsettling. Grayson himself was younger than Charlie expected, maybe 38, with dark hair graying at the temples and eyes that missed nothing. He wore jeans and a button-down shirt, Silicon Valley casual mixed with East Coast polish. Mrs. Wayne Hale boost in, he said, standing as she entered. Thank you for coming. And you must be Paige Murphy. I've seen your social media coverage. You know who I am, Ace, Paige said. I make it my business to know the key players in any situation. Grayson gestured to chairs by the window. Please, sit. Can I get you anything, water, tea? Information, Charlie said. Your text said you know something about Ethan. Direct, I appreciate that. Grayson opened a folder on his desk. I've been Hale Industries' largest investor for 3 years, $200 million. Recently, I've been concerned about the quarterly reports. Numbers that don't add up. Expenses that seem inflated. Revenue projections that feel optimistic. You think he's cooking the books, Paige said. I know he is. Grayson slid the folder across. These are offshore account records. Money being moved through shell corporations. Ethan's been embezzling from the company for at least 18 months. Charlie flipped through the pages, her tech background making sense of the financial trails. This is fraud. Securities fraud. He could go to prison. Yes, Grayson said. But that's not why I called you here. Look at the account names. Charlie found the page and her blood ran cold. Bennett Holdings? That's my maiden name. Ethan's been moving money through accounts registered in your name. If the Securities and Exchange Commission investigates, you'll be implicated. I didn't know anything about this, I believe you, but proving it will be difficult. You're his wife. You worked for the company. On paper, you had access to everything. Grayson's expression softened slightly. He's setting you up to take the fall. Paige grabbed Charlie's hand. We need to tell Rebecca immediately. Rebecca Sterling's a good attorney, Grayson said. But this goes beyond divorce court. You need protection, federal protection. Why are you helping me? Charlie asked. What's in it for you? Grayson was quiet for a moment, looking out at the river. My younger sister, Amelia. She married a man like Ethan. Charming, successful, controlling. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. He had isolated her, destroyed her confidence, stolen her inheritance. She died of believing she was worthless. I'm sorry, Mom, Charlie said softly. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Let me help you. Grayson turned back to face them. I'm pulling my investment from Hale Industries. That's $200 million walking away. The company's valuation will crater. Other investors will panic. Ethan will be scrambling to hold things together. That hurts me too, Charlie pointed out. My 40% becomes 40% of nothing. In the short term, yes, but it creates chaos. And in chaos, we can rebuild. You start over. Charlotte, a new company, clean books. Your name on everything. I'll fund it. The offer hung in the air, tempting and terrifying. Why? Charlie asked again. Because I couldn't save my sister. But I can help you. Grayson's gaze was steady. And because, frankly, you're the one with the actual talent. Ethan's a salesman. You're an innovator. I'd rather bet on you. Charlie looked at Paige, who shrugged. It's your call, babe. But for what it's worth, I trust him. Charlie thought about Ethan's cold voice on the phone, about Sienna's hand on his arm, about 5 years of her life and the babies growing inside her and the future she wanted to build. Okay, she said. Let's do it. What she did not know was that across town, Ethan was making his own plans that would change everything. 2 weeks later, Charlie stood in Rebecca Sterling's office, feeling something she had not felt in months, hope. The judge granted the temporary restraining order, Rebecca said, smiling for the first time since they met. Ethan can't move any major company assets or make structural changes without court approval. We've frozen him in place. Paige threw her arms around Charlie. Yes, we're winning. It gets better, Rebecca continued. I had forensic document examiners analyze the post-nuptial agreement. They found evidence of digital manipulation. The signature was copied from another document you signed while sedated. It's forgery. Charlie sank into a chair, relief washing over her. He can't take the company. Not only that, but the district attorney is interested. Forgery on legal documents is a felony. If they press charges, Ethan's looking at serious prison time. Grayson had been standing by the window, quietly observing. Now he turned. Has he responded? His lawyers filed an emergency appeal, but it'll take weeks to work through the system. In the meantime, Charlotte retains her ownership stake and her patents. Rebecca pulled out another document. There's more? My investigators found the offshore accounts Grayson identified. We've submitted evidence to the Securities and Exchange Commission. They've opened an investigation. How long until something happens? Charlie asked. These things move slowly, Grayson said. Months, maybe years. We don't have years. We need to strike now while we have momentum. Rebecca looked at each of them in turn. I'm recommending we go public. Call a press conference, expose everything, the forgery, the embezzlement, the emotional abuse. Let the court of public opinion destroy him. Charlie thought about Madison Rivers, the journalist who had been covering the story. Will people believe me? After what he did at the gala, after the videos of him parading his mistress while you were hospitalized, Paige pulled out her phone. Charlie, you have the entire internet on your side. Let's use it. That night, Charlie moved into Paige's loft in Soho. It was smaller than the Tribeca penthouse, but warmer. Paige had set up a nursery corner with 2 cribs, already preparing for the twins. I can't believe this is happening, Charlie said, standing by the window. Below, the city lights sparkled. Somewhere out there, Ethan was planning his next move, but for the first time, she felt like she was one step ahead. Her phone rang. Grayson Cole. I wanted to check in, he said. How are you feeling? Honestly terrified, but also stronger than I've felt in years. Good, because I have news. I've been talking to some other Hale Industries investors. They're nervous. If Ethan's been committing fraud, their money is at risk. 3 of them are ready to pull out. That'll tank the company. Exactly. Which is when we make our move. I've been working on something. A new company, clean slate. I'll be the primary investor. You'll be CEO. We'll hire your team, the engineers who are loyal to you. We'll rebuild the artificial intelligence platform from scratch. Charlie's heart raced. That's corporate espionage. We can't just steal Hale Industries technology. We're not stealing anything. You created that algorithm. You own the patents. Legally, it's yours to do with as you please. Grayson paused. I know this is moving fast, but we have a small window. Once Ethan realizes what we're doing, he'll fight back hard. We need to be ready. Give me 24 hours to think about it. After they hung up, Paige came to stand beside her. Big day, Charlie. You've been coding that company's entire artificial intelligence backbone while growing 2 humans. When are you going to take credit? Charlie glanced toward the bedroom where Ethan had disappeared. We're partners. The gala is for both of us. Paige's expression softened. Honey, I love you, but I've watched you build that man's empire 4 or 5 years. Promise me tomorrow you'll finally step into the spotlight. After they hung up, Charlie noticed an email notification. The sender, Grayson Cole, their largest investor. Subject line Q4 numbers, urgent. She clicked it open. Charlotte, we need to talk. I've been reviewing the quarterly reports. Something doesn't add up in the offshore accounts. Call me before the gala. A chill ran down her spine, but she closed the laptop. Probably just routine investor paranoia. Ethan handled all the financial paperwork. He said numbers were his specialty, creativity was hers. What did he want? To start over. Completely. And I think I'm going to do it. The press conference was scheduled for Monday morning. Rebecca arranged for the National Press Club in Manhattan. Madison Rivers would be there, along with every major tech journalist in the city. Sunday night, Charlie could not sleep. She sat at Paige's kitchen table, reviewing her statement. Tomorrow, she would tell her story. All of it, the forgery, the emotional abuse, the financial fraud. She would expose Ethan Hale for what he was. Her laptop was open, showing the draft announcement for her new company, Bennett Technologies. The name felt right. Her name, her legacy. At 2 in the morning, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your email. You need to see this. A friend. Charlie opened her email. The message had no text, just an attachment, a video file. She clicked play. The video showed Ethan's home office, the one in their Tribeca penthouse. The timestamp was from 3 days ago. Ethan sat at his desk, talking on the phone. The forgery won't hold up. Ethan's recorded voice said, I know that, but it buys us time. By the time the courts have figured it out, I'll have restructured everything. Bennett Technologies. Let her have it. I'll bury her in patent litigation. She doesn't have the money for a prolonged legal battle. The voice on the other end was muffled, but Charlie could make out words. What about the Securities and Exchange Commission investigation? Already handled. I've got records showing Charlotte had full access to those offshore accounts. She'll go down for the fraud. Not me. Pregnant, hormonal, stealing from her own company. The narrative writes itself. Charlie's hands shook as she watched. He was planning to frame her. Completely. The video ended. She immediately called Rebecca, not caring that it was 2 in the morning. We have a problem, Charlie said when Rebecca answered. Monday morning arrived with breaking news. But it was not the press conference that made headlines. At 6 a.m., federal agents raided Hale Industries headquarters. They also appeared at Page's loft with a warrant. Charlotte Bennett Hale, the lead agent said, you're under arrest for securities fraud and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. As they handcuffed her, Charlie saw Page's horrified face, saw the phones recording from across the street, saw her carefully planned press conference crumbling into disaster. I didn't do anything, she said, but the agents were already reading her rights. On the TV in Page's living room, the morning news showed Ethan giving a statement outside Hale Industries. I'm devastated to learn my wife has been stealing from our company, he said, looking haggard and sympathetic. I wanted to believe the best, but the evidence is overwhelming. I hope she gets the help she needs. Charlie closed her eyes as they led her to the waiting car. She had been outplayed. The holding cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center smelled like disinfectant and despair. Charlie sat on a concrete bench, still wearing Page's borrowed sweatpants and t-shirt. They had taken her phone, her laptop, everything. A guard appeared at the bars. Your attorney's here. Rebecca Sterling looked furious when she entered the consultation room. They're claiming you hacked into Hale Industries servers and transferred money to offshore accounts in your name. The evidence is digital fingerprints from your IP address. That's impossible. I haven't accessed the company servers since Ethan revoked my credentials. Someone did. Someone using your computer. Rebecca pulled out papers. The prosecution has keystroke logs, file transfer records, everything. It looks like you systematically embezzled $4 million over 6 months. Charlie's mind raced. My laptop. Someone had access to my laptop. Who? Ethan. I left it at the penthouse when I moved out. He could have used it to frame me. Proving that will be difficult. The prosecution's asking for no bail. They're claiming you're a flight risk and a danger to the company. Rebecca's expression softened slightly. Charlie, I need you to be honest with me. Is there any way Ethan could have legitimate evidence against you? No, I built that company. I never stole from it. Then we fight. But this just got exponentially harder. The bail hearing was a nightmare. The prosecution painted Charlie as a scorned wife who tried to destroy her husband's company. They showed the offshore account records, all with her name. They showed the digital evidence linking everything to her computer. The judge denied bail. The defendant poses a significant flight risk, the judge said. And given the severity of the charges, I'm remanding her to custody until trial. Charlie was let out in handcuffs. As they passed the courtroom gallery, she saw Ethan sitting in the back row. He caught her eye and smiled. A cold, victorious smile that said, I won. 3 days into her incarceration, Charlie received another visit from Rebecca. We have a new problem, Rebecca said. Child Protective Services filed an emergency petition. They're claiming you're an unfit mother due to the criminal charges. Ethan's filed for full custody. Charlie's hand flew to her belly. The twins were still growing, still safe inside her. But for how much longer, he can't take them. He's arguing you're in jail, facing serious charges, and emotionally unstable. The hearing is tomorrow. Rebecca leaned forward. Charlie, I need you to prepare for the possibility that you might give birth in custody. The words hit like a physical blow. Give birth. In prison. Alone. That night, Charlie lay on the thin mattress in her cell, staring at the concrete ceiling. How had everything gone so wrong so fast a month ago? She had been pregnant and hopeful, believing in the future. Now she faced years in prison for crimes she did not commit. Her cellmate, a woman named Jasmine, who was awaiting trial for check fraud, rolled over on her bunk. You're that tech lady, Jasmine said. I saw you on the news. Your husband screwed you. Yes, Charlie said quietly. Men like that always do. They make you think you're partners. Then they take everything and call it theirs. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. My ex did the same thing. Made me sign blank checks. Said it was for groceries. Next thing I know, I'm arrested for his forgery scheme. Did you fight it? Fought for 2 years. He walked. I got 3 years probation. Jasmine sighed. Systems rigged for people with money. And it sounds like your ex has plenty. The next morning, Charlie was transported to family court for the custody hearing. She wore an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of her, very obviously pregnant. The optics were devastating. Ethan arrived in a suit, looking composed and concerned. Sienna sat behind him in the gallery, playing the supportive partner. The judge reviewed the petition. Mr. Hale, you're requesting full custody of the unborn twins. Yes, Your Honor. My wife is in jail facing serious federal charges. I want to ensure my children have a stable home environment. Mrs. Hale, the judge turned to Charlie. Do you have a response? Rebecca stood. Your Honor, my client is innocent of all charges. This is a manufactured crisis designed to allow Mr. Hale to take the children. He's already stolen her company. Now he's trying to steal her children. That's a serious accusation, the judge said. I have evidence. Rebecca pulled out folders. Evidence of Mr. Hale's pattern of manipulation, forgery, and abuse. Evidence that he's the one who should be investigated. The judge spent 20 minutes reviewing documents. Finally, he looked up. I'm ordering a full investigation by Child Protective Services. In the meantime, the children will remain with Mrs. Hale until birth. After delivery, we'll revisit custody based on her legal situation. He looked at Charlie. Mrs. Hale, I strongly suggest you resolve your criminal charges quickly. It was a small victory, but Charlie would take it. As they led her back to the transport van, she caught Paige's eye in the gallery. Her friend mouthed, keep fighting. That night, Charlie received an unexpected visitor. The guard led her to a private consultation room, normally reserved for attorney meetings. But it was not Rebecca waiting for her. Sienna Vaughn sat at the table, her hands folded, looking miserable. What are you doing here? Charlie asked. I need to tell you something. Sienna said, something I should have said a long time ago. Ethan's been lying to both of us. Charlie stared at Sienna across the scarred table of the consultation room, the woman who had stood beside her husband, who had smiled for cameras while Charlie's world crumbled. Why was she here now? I'm not pregnant, Sienna said abruptly. The announcement Ethan made last week. It's fake. He's making me wear a prosthetic belly for photo ops. Charlie's breath caught. Why? Because polls show that investors respond positively to family-oriented CEOs. A new baby with a younger partner makes him look virile and successful. Sienna's voice was bitter. I told him I wanted to wait, to actually build our relationship first. He said we didn't need a real baby. The image was enough. That's insane. That's Ethan. Sienna pulled out her phone, sliding it across the table. I've been recording our conversations for 3 weeks, ever since I realized what he really is. Charlie pressed play on the audio file. Ethan's voice filled the small room. She pulled up Instagram, scrolling through the Hale Industries feed. The latest post stopped her cold. A blurry story. Quickly deleted, but she had caught it. Ethan and Sienna Vaughn, their new vice president of marketing. Standing too close at what looked like a rooftop bar, the timestamp 3 hours ago, while Charlie had been finishing his presentation. Her phone chimed with a text from Ethan. Wear the silver dress tomorrow night. This gala is our moment. Baby, everything we've built. Charlie stared at the message, then at her reflection in the darkened computer screen, a tired woman with circles under her eyes, hands resting on a belly that held their children. When had she stopped seeing herself as the tech genius who had coded the original platform? When had she become just the pregnant wife? She shook off the doubt. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, the world would see them as equals. The baby story polls well with family values investors. Keep wearing the belly. We'll stage a miscarriage in a few months. Get sympathy then move on. Sienna's voice, this feels wrong. We're lying to everyone. We're managing a narrative. That's business. Now, about Charlotte's arrest, I had to accelerate the timeline. The offshore accounts needed to be discovered before she could expose my real holdings in the Cayman Islands. Charlie felt sick. He framed me on purpose. He's framed both of us, Sienna said. I'm listed as chief operating officer, but I'm actually documenting everything for him. If the Securities and Exchange Commission investigates, my name is on reports I never wrote, approving transactions I never saw. He's setting me up as his fall guy, too. Why are you telling me this? Sienna's eyes filled with tears. Because I made a terrible mistake. I believed him when he said you were controlling and crazy. I believed him when he said you didn't contribute to the company. I didn't do my research. I just wanted the promotion, the money, the status. She wiped her eyes. Then I watched him destroy you at that gala, and I realized I was dating a monster. Charlie studied the woman across from her. Sienna was young, ambitious, and in over her head, just like Charlie had been 5 years ago when she first met Ethan. What do you want from me? Charlie asked. To help you, and to save myself. Ethan told me if I try to leave, he'll release fabricated evidence that I've been sleeping with investors to secure funding. He'll destroy my reputation. Sienna pushed a flash drive across the table. This has everything. Audio recordings of him admitting to fraud, forgery, and framing you. Video of him explaining how he hacked your laptop. Text messages about bribing officials. Everything. Charlie looked at the flash drive like it was a grenade. Why not give this to the police yourself? Because I'm terrified. You don't understand what he's capable of. He has connections everywhere. Judges, prosecutors, journalists. He'll make it look like I fabricated the evidence to protect you. Sienna's hands shook. But you have Rebecca Sterling. You have resources. You can use this, and maybe it'll stick. A guard knocked on the door. 5 more minutes. Charlie palmed the flash drive, her mind racing. If I use this, Ethan will know you betrayed him. I know. That's why I'm leaving. Tonight, I've got a friend in Colorado who'll let me disappear for a while. Sienna stood. I'm sorry, Charlotte, for everything. I thought I was helping myself climb the ladder. I didn't realize I was helping him push you off it. After Sienna left, Charlie stared at the flash drive. Freedom sat on this tiny piece of silicon. But could she trust it? What if this was another trap? More manufactured evidence to make her look desperate and conspiratorial the next morning. Rebecca arrived early, her expression tense. Don't say anything, Rebecca said immediately. This room might be monitored. Just listen. Grayson Cole is missing. Charlie's stomach dropped. He hasn't been seen in 4 days. His office is closed. His phone disconnected. His bank accounts frozen. It's like he vanished. Rebecca pulled out her tablet, showing news articles. There's speculation he fled to avoid prosecution. The Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating whether he was involved in your alleged fraud scheme. That's ridiculous. Grayson was helping me. Was he? Rebecca's gaze was sharp. Charlie, how much do you actually know about Grayson Cole? He's an investor. He lost his sister to an abusive husband. He wanted to help me. I had my investigators look into him. Rebecca slid papers across. There's no record of Grayson Cole having a sister, no obituary, no death certificate, no social media history. It's like she never existed. Charlie felt cold. He lied about his sister. There's more. The business entity called Cole Investments, it's a shell corporation. No employees, no office lease, nothing. The address listed is a mailboxes, etc. in Newark. I don't understand. Neither do I. But it gets worse. Rebecca pulled up a new document. I found corporate filings showing Cole Investments is owned by a holding company called Hunt Enterprises. Hunt, Charlie said slowly. Derek Hunt, Ethan's biggest competitor. Exactly. Derek Hunt has been trying to acquire Hale Industries for years. Ethan refused to sell, but if the company collapses due to scandal, Hunt could buy it for pennies on the dollar. Rebecca leaned forward. Charlie, what if Grayson Cole was never trying to help you? What if he was playing both sides, manipulating you to destroy Ethan, so Hunt could swoop in and take everything I am? Charlie thought about the man who had seemed so kind, so understanding. The expensive office, the careful questions, the promises of funding. Had it all been a setup, but the evidence he gave me about Ethan's offshore accounts was real. Real enough to start an investigation, but convenient enough to implicate you too. Rebecca's expression was grim. I think you've been caught in a corporate war. Hunt wanted to destroy Hale Industries. You were the perfect weapon. The guard knocked. Mrs. Hale, you have another visitor? This time it was Paige, carrying a tablet and wearing her most determined expression. Okay, so things are bad, Paige said, sitting down. But they're about to get worse. And then if we play this right, they're going to get better. And worse how? Madison Rivers is publishing an expose tomorrow. The headline is Tech Exec's Wife Victim or Criminal Mastermind. She's got quotes from Ethan's lawyers, character witnesses saying you were always money hungry, experts questioning your claims. Paige set down the tablet. The public narrative is shifting. People are starting to believe you're guilty. Charlie felt the walls closing in. Everything was falling apart. But, Paige continued, I've been talking to some of my influencer friends, the ones with real reach. We're planning a counter-campaign, videos, posts, threads. We're going to tell your story, the real story, and we need something big to anchor it, something undeniable. Charlie looked at Rebecca, then back at Paige. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the flash drive Sienna had given her. Would this work? Rebecca confiscated the flash drive immediately. Where did you get this? Sienna Vaughn gave it to me yesterday. She said it's recordings of Ethan admitting everything. Charlie watched Rebecca's face for any reaction. Is it real? We won't know until we analyze it. But if Sienna Vaughn gave this to you while you're in custody, that's going to raise questions. Rebecca pocketed the drive. Mom, don't mention this to anyone else. Not the guards, not other inmates, no one. If this is legitimate evidence, we need to control how it comes out. After Rebecca left, Charlie sat alone in the consultation room, waiting for the guard to take her back to her cell. Through the small window, she could see other inmates being processed. This place had become her world: concrete walls, fluorescent lights, the constant sound of metal doors clanging shut. Her hand moved to her belly. The twins were active today, rolling and kicking. They had no idea their mother was in jail, that their father was a monster, that their entire future hung in the balance. A new guard appeared, one Charlie had not seen before. Mrs. Hale, come with me, please. Back to my cell. Medical wing. Doctor wants to check on the babies. Charlie followed him down a corridor she had not been through before. Something felt wrong. This was not the route to medical. Where are we going? She asked. The guard did not answer. He swiped a key card and opened a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. They entered a stairwell, completely empty. Charlie's instincts screamed, I'm not going any further. The guard turned, and his expression was cold. You need to stop making trouble. Mrs. Hale, drop the charges, sign over your patents, and disappear. Otherwise, accidents happen. Even in jail. Who sent you? Does it matter? He took a step closer. You're alone, no cameras here. I could say you tried to escape. Got violent? Things happen. Charlie's heart pounded. She was trapped, pregnant, defenseless. She backed against the wall. Then the door above them burst open. 3 actual guards rushed down, followed by Rebecca Sterling and a woman in an FBI jacket. Officer Marcus Reed, the FBI agent said, you're under arrest for bribery and conspiracy. The fake guard tried to run, but the other guards tackled him. As they cuffed him, Rebecca rushed to Charlie. Are you hurt? How did you know? Charlie gasped. We've been monitoring you. After Sienna's visit, we suspected Ethan might try something desperate. The FBI agent approached. Mrs. Hale, I'm Special Agent Brooks. We've been investigating Hale Industries for 3 months. Your case caught our attention. They led Charlie to a secure room, where Agent Brooks explained everything. Derek Hunt hired Grayson Cole, real name Martin Shaw, to manipulate both you and Ethan Hale. The goal was corporate espionage disguised as a love triangle. Hunt wanted Hale Industries destroyed so he could acquire it. Agent Brooks pulled up files on a laptop, but Ethan Hale caught on. The next evening, Charlie stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the silver maternity gown. She looked elegant, powerful, ready to claim her place beside her husband. The Plaza Hotel's grand ballroom glittered with Manhattan's elite when her car pulled up. Photographers lined the red carpet, flashes popping like fireworks. Charlie took a deep breath, one hand on her belly, and stepped out. That was when she saw him. Ethan stood at the top of the red carpet stairs, spotlights illuminating his tailored Tom Ford tuxedo. His arm was wrapped around Sienna Vaughn, who wore a scarlet gown that clung to every curve. They posed for cameras like a magazine cover, his hand resting possessively on her waist. Charlie's heart stopped. The announcer's voice boomed through speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Hale, CEO of Hale Industries, and his new chief brand officer, Sienna Vaughn." The crowd erupted in applause. He realized someone was feeding you information. So he accelerated his own plan, frame you for fraud, discredit you publicly, take the company and the kids. "The guard who just threatened me," Charlie asked. "Hired by Ethan. We've traced payments from his personal account to Reed's offshore banking." Agent Brooks smiled grimly. "He just committed felony witness tampering. On top of everything else, what about the flash drive Sienna gave me? We need to verify it. But if it's authentic, combined with what we already have, we can arrest Ethan Hale tonight." Agent Brooks looked at Charlie carefully. "But I need something from you first. Testimony. Full cooperation. Tell us everything you know about Hale Industries' financial practices." Charlie took a breath. This was it, the moment that would determine everything. "I'll tell you everything," she said. The next 6 hours were a blur. Charlie gave a deposition, walking federal investigators through 5 years of Hale Industries' history. She explained the technology she developed, the patents she created, the investors she courted. She identified every instance where Ethan claimed credit for her work. Rebecca sat beside her the entire time, occasionally interjecting with legal clarifications. When they finished, Agent Brooks looked satisfied. "This is enough. Combined with Sienna Vaughn's recordings and the evidence we've gathered independently, we have a solid case for multiple federal charges." She stood. "We're arresting Ethan Hale tonight. Mrs. Hale, you'll be released on your own recognizance within the hour. All charges against you are being dropped." Charlie could not speak. After 3 weeks in jail, freedom felt impossible. "There's one more thing," Agent Brooks said. "We're also arresting Derek Hunt. He orchestrated this entire situation for corporate gain. Both men will face trial." That evening, Charlie walked out of the Metropolitan Correctional Center to find Paige waiting with a car. Her friend had tears streaming down her face. "You're free," Paige said, hugging her carefully. "Oh my God, you're free." "For now," Charlie said. "This isn't over." They drove to Paige's loft, where Charlie took her first real shower in 3 weeks. When she emerged, feeling slightly more human, she found Rebecca and Paige watching the news. The screen showed federal agents entering Hale Industries' headquarters. Ethan was let out in handcuffs, his perfect hair disheveled, his face shocked. Cameras captured everything. The news anchor's voice. "In a stunning development, Ethan Hale, CEO of Hale Industries, has been arrested on multiple federal charges, including securities fraud, forgery, witness tampering, and embezzlement. His business rival, Derek Hunt, was also arrested tonight on conspiracy charges. Both men are being held without bail." Charlie watched her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, being pushed into a police car. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, just exhaustion. "It's over," Paige whispered. "No," Charlie said. "Now comes the hard part. Rebuilding." 6 months later, Charlie stood in the renovated office space in Brooklyn that would house her new company. Sunlight streamed through industrial windows. The walls were painted a warm cream color. Desks and computers waited for the team she was building. The twins, Ryan and Grace, slept in carriers beside her desk. Born healthy 6 weeks ago, they were the center of her universe now. "It looks good," Paige said, walking through with her camera. She was documenting Charlie's comeback for a YouTube series that had already garnered 15 million views. "Very different from Hale Industries." "That's intentional." Charlie adjusted Grace's blanket. "I don't want anything that reminds me of that place." Rebecca entered, carrying folders. "The final divorce papers are ready. You just need to sign." Charlie took the pen, signed her name, and exhaled. "It's really over. The marriage is over. The legal battles will continue for years. Ethan's trial starts in 3 months. You'll have to testify. Rebecca's expression softened. But the company is yours now. Bennett Technologies is officially registered. Grayson Cole, the real one, not Derek Hunt's imposter, has committed $50 million in initial funding. I still can't believe the actual Grayson Cole exists, Paige said Puen. Apparently Derek Hunt found out about a reclusive billionaire investor named Grayson Cole, hired an actor to impersonate him, and used the fake identity to manipulate Charlie. Rebecca shook her head. When the real Cole found out his name was being used in a fraud scheme, he reached out through his attorneys. Turns out he actually did lose his sister to domestic violence. He wants to help legitimate causes. Charlie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sienna. I heard about your new company. Congratulations. I'm sorry for everything. Trying to rebuild my life too. Maybe someday you can forgive me. Charlie stared at the message. Sienna had testified against Ethan, providing crucial evidence that sealed his fate. The recordings she made had proven everything: the forgery, the embezzlement, the conspiracy. Without Sienna's courage, Charlie might still be in jail. She typed back, "Thank you for having the courage to tell the truth. Good luck with your new start." Paige looked over her shoulder. You're really forgiving her. She was a victim too, just younger and more naive than I was. Charlie pocketed her phone. Ethan's good at finding vulnerable people and exploiting them. I can't hate her for falling for the same lies I believed. The door opened and a woman in her mid-40s entered, carrying a portfolio. Mrs. Bennett, I'm Jennifer Walsh. I'm here for the Chief Technology Officer interview. Thank you for coming. Charlie gestured to a chair. Tell me about your background. Over the next hour, Charlie interviewed Jennifer and 2 other candidates. It felt surreal, building a leadership team, making decisions without someone second-guessing her every move. This was her company, her vision, her name on everything. By evening, she had hired 3 engineers, 2 designers, and Jennifer as CT. Bennett Technologies was becoming real. That night, Paige ordered pizza and they sat on the floor of the new office, paper plates balanced on their laps, babies sleeping nearby. To new beginnings, Paige said, raising a soda can. To surviving, Charlie corrected, and building something better from the ashes. Her phone rang. Agent Brooks. Mrs. Bennett, I wanted to give you a heads up. Ethan's legal team is trying to negotiate a plea deal. They're offering to plead guilty to lesser charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. How reduced? 5 years instead of 20. The prosecution's considering it to avoid a lengthy trial. Charlie was quiet. 5 years felt like nothing compared to what he had done. But 5 years was still 5 years. Time for her to build her company, raise her children, and move forward without his shadow. What do you think I should do? Charlie asked. That's not my decision, but the prosecutors want your input. You're the primary victim. Charlie looked at her sleeping children. Ryan stirred, making a small sound. Grace's tiny hand curled into a fist. Tell them I want justice, not revenge, she said finally. If 5 years means we avoid a trial and I can focus on my company and my kids, then I'm okay with it. But I want to read my victim impact statement in court. I want him to hear what he did to us. I'll let them know. After hanging up, Charlie sat in the dim office watching the city lights flicker through the windows. Somewhere across town, Ethan sat in a jail cell, his empire gone, his future destroyed. She should feel victorious. Instead, she felt tired. Are you okay? Paige asked quietly. I don't know. I spent 5 years loving someone who was destroying me. Even now, knowing everything, part of me remembers the good times, the moments I thought were real. Charlie wiped her eyes. Is that crazy? It's human. Abuse is complicated. Love is complicated. Paige moved closer. But you got out. You survived. You're rebuilding. That's what matters. 3 months later, Charlie stood in a federal courtroom, reading her victim impact statement. Ethan sat at the defense table, thinner than she remembered, wearing an orange jumpsuit. He would not look at her. You told me we were partners. Charlie read from her prepared statement. You said we were building something together, but the entire time you were stealing from me. My work, my credit, my confidence, my identity. You tried to take my children. You tried to send me to prison for your crimes. Her voice remained steady, clear. But you failed, because I'm stronger than you ever understood. I'm smarter than you gave me credit for. And I will spend the rest of my life proving that I never needed you. I just needed to believe in myself. The judge sentenced Ethan to 12 years in federal prison. Derek Hunt received 8 years. Both men would have years to reflect on their conspiracy. As Charlie left the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Madison Rivers, who had since written a Pulitzer-nominated series on corporate fraud and gender discrimination, approached. Mrs. Bennett, how do you feel about the sentence? Charlie looked directly into the camera. I feel free, and I hope my story reminds other women that they don't have to accept being diminished. You built it? Claim it. Ethan leaned down and kissed Sienna's cheek, holding the pose long enough for every photographer to capture it. Charlie stood frozen at the bottom of the stairs. The champagne flute a valet had handed her trembling in her grasp. The glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the pavement. The sharp crack made heads turn. Conversations halted. Cameras pivoted. Lenses focusing on the pregnant woman in silver. Standing alone in a pool of broken glass and spilled champagne, a journalist with a press badge that read Madison Rivers gasped audibly. Oh my God, is that his wife? Time moved in slow motion as Charlie watched recognition ripple through the crowd. Photographers who had been focused on Ethan and Sienna now swiveled their cameras toward her. Phone lights blinked on as people began recording. She could already imagine the post going live. CEO's pregnant wife crashes his gala with Mistress. Except she had not crashed anything. She had been invited. Someone stole from you, fight back. You deserve credit for your work and respect for your contributions. The clip went viral within hours. 1 year after the sentencing, Bennett Technologies prepared for its initial public offering. The company had grown to 150 employees. The artificial intelligence platform Charlie developed had been licensed to 12 major corporations. Forbes projected the initial public offering would value the company at $1.8 billion. Charlie stood on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Ryan and Grace now toddling beside him, holding hands. Paige stood to her left, filming everything. Jennifer Walsh, the chief technology officer, stood to her right. Rebecca Sterling was there, representing the legal team. And in the back, surprisingly, stood the real Grayson Cole, who had flown in from London for the occasion. The opening bell rang. Bennett Technologies began trading under the ticker symbol BENT. Within the first hour, share prices climbed 30%. Charlie did not cry. She smiled. That evening, there was a celebration at her new penthouse overlooking Central Park. She had purchased it with her own money, earned from her own company. Every piece of furniture, every painting, every choice was hers. The doorbell rang. Charlie opened it to find a delivery, a massive bouquet of peonies with a card. Congratulations on proving that talent always rises. The phoenix emerges from ashes more beautiful than before. Real Grayson Cole. Paige appeared behind her. Okay, real talk. The mysterious billionaire who actually turned out to be a good guy. You should date him. I'm not dating anyone for a very long time. Charlie set the flowers on her dining table. I'm focusing on my kids and my company. Fair. But when you're ready, he seems nice. And age-appropriate, and not a sociopath. Charlie laughed, the sound feeling foreign and wonderful. Later, after guests had left and the twins were asleep, Charlie stood by the window, looking out at the city. Her phone buzzed with notifications. Forbes had just published their feature article, Charlotte Bennett, the woman who broke Silicon Valley's boys' club. The article detailed her journey, the betrayal, the fight, the victory. It quoted other women who had been inspired by her story to demand credit for their own work. A movement was forming, women in tech refusing to be diminished. Charlie's phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. This is Charlotte Bennett. Mrs. Bennett, my name is Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm a professor at MIT. I'm calling because I'd like to invite you to speak at our Women in Technology Symposium next month. Your story has inspired so many of our students. Charlie looked at the degree hanging on her wall, her MIT diploma, earned when she was young and full of dreams. Before Ethan, before the betrayal, before she learned how strong she really was. I'd be honored, Charlie said. The next month, She stood before 2,000 students, mostly young women, and told her story. Not the sanitized version from press releases, but the real, messy, painful truth. I let someone steal my work because I loved him, she said. I let him diminish me because I believed partnership meant sacrifice. I almost lost everything because I didn't understand my own worth. The auditorium was silent. But here's what I learned. Your work is yours. Your ideas are yours. Your value is inherent, not given by someone else's validation. Build your own companies. Put your own names on patents. And never, ever let anyone convince you that supporting them means erasing yourself. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, a young woman approached, tears in her eyes. I've been letting my boyfriend take credit for my code. He says it's better for his career, that we're a team. Your story made me realize I've been making the same mistake. Charlie took the woman's hands. Then stop. Right now. Your code is yours. Claim it. That night, flying home to New York, Charlie watched the sunset from her first-class window. The sky was painted gold and pink, the same colors as Rebirth. Her phone showed a text from Paige. The symposium speech is viral. 5 million views and climbing. You're officially a role model. How does it feel? Charlie typed back, terrifying and amazing. But mostly, if this all, it feels right. She looked at photos of Ryan and Grace on her phone. They were growing so fast, becoming tiny people with personalities and preferences. They would never know the broken version of their mother. They would only know the woman who rebuilt herself into something stronger. 1 year later, Bennett Technologies acquired the remains of Hale Industries, which had collapsed after Ethan's conviction. Charlie purchased it for a symbolic $1, more as a point of closure than business necessity. She stood in the old headquarters, now empty except for echoes. This was where she had spent countless nights building something she thought was theirs. This was where she had been erased and diminished and destroyed. Knock it down, she told the contractors. Build something new. Within 6 months, the old Hale Industries building had been demolished. In its place rose a modern structure with a rooftop garden and a daycare center for employees' children. The company was rebranded as a Bennett Technologies Innovation Hub. On opening day, Charlie gave a speech to employees, investors, and press. This building represents transformation, she said. It was built on the ashes of lies and theft. Now it stands for truth and equity. Every parent working here has access to childcare. Every employee owns stock options. Every idea is credited to its creator. This is what a company looks like when it's built on respect instead of ego. The crowd applauded, cameras flashed, and somewhere in a federal prison, Ethan Hale watched the broadcast in the common room, his empire now belonging to the woman he tried to destroy. 5 years after the trial, Charlie stood at Grace's kindergarten graduation. Her daughter walked across the small stage, receiving a certificate for Most Creative Problem Solver. Ryan sat beside Charlie, playing a game on a tablet. A man slid into the empty seat beside them. Charlie glanced over and froze. It was Ethan, thinner and grayer, wearing civilian clothes. I got early release for good behavior, he said quietly. Don't worry, I'm not here to cause problems. I just wanted to see them. Charlie's hand moved protectively to her children. You have supervised visitation rights once a month. This isn't one of those days. I know. I'm not trying to overstep. I needed to see what I lost. His voice cracked. They're beautiful. Yes, they are. And they're better off without your influence. Ethan nodded slowly. You were right about everything. I destroyed something real because I was too arrogant to see its value until it was gone. Charlie looked at the man she once loved. She felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no pain. Just emptiness where he used to live in her heart. I hope you find peace, Ethan, but far away from us. He stood and walked away. Charlie watched him go, then turned her attention back to Grace, who was waving at her from the stage. That night, tucking Ryan and Grace into bed, Grace asked, Mommy, who was that man at my graduation? Charlie paused. She had always planned to be honest with her children about their father, but not yet. Not when they were so young. Someone from a long time ago, she said gently. No one you need to worry about. Okay, Grace yawned, her eyes closing. I love you. Mommy, I love you too, sweetheart. More than anything, 10 years after the betrayal that changed her life, Charlotte Bennett stood on a stage accepting the National Medal of Technology and Innovation. The president himself presented the award, recognizing her contributions to artificial intelligence and her advocacy for women in technology. In the audience sat Ryan and Grace, now teenagers, proud and beaming. Paige filmed everything. Jennifer Walsh applauded from the front row, and the real Grayson Cole, who had become a trusted friend and eventually something more, squeezed her hand. In her acceptance speech, Charlie spoke about resilience, transformation, and the power of refusing to accept diminishment. I was told I was support staff, she said. I was told my contributions didn't matter. I was told to be quiet and grateful, but I refused. And in refusing, I discovered who I really was, not someone's wife or someone's employee, but a creator, an innovator, a fighter. The audience rose in standing ovation. To every woman watching this, Charlie continued, know that your work matters. Your ideas have value. You don't need permission to be brilliant. You just need to believe in yourself enough to claim what's rightfully yours. That night at the celebration dinner, Grace asked, Mom, are you happy? Charlie looked around the table. Her children, healthy and thriving. Her company, successful and ethical. Her friends, loyal and true. Her life, finally her own. Yes, she said, meaning it completely. I'm happy. Later, alone in her hotel room, Charlie opened her laptop and typed an email to young women who had reached out asking for advice. Dear future innovators, she wrote, you will face people who try to diminish you. Some will do it out of malice, others out of insecurity. The important thing is recognizing when it happens and refusing to accept it. Your worth is not determined by someone else's recognition. Build your own companies. Create your own opportunities. Charlie gathered the fabric of her silver gown and climbed the red carpet stairs. Each step felt like walking through water. When she reached the door, Ethan's smile never wavered. That same practiced charm he used in boardrooms. Charlie, he said, his voice smooth as silk. You're late. Late, her voice cracked. You texted me this was our night. Sienna looked genuinely uncomfortable, her eyes darting between them. Mr. Hale, I didn't realize. It's fine, Sienna. Ethan cut her off, then turned back to Charlie. His expression remained pleasant, but his whisper was ice. Don't make a scene. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself. Charlie's voice rose. Around them, the crowd pressed closer. Phones raised. You're here with her, Bertie, and you're emotional. Ethan interrupted, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. He placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture that looked caring to observers but felt like a warning. Pregnancy hormones. Everyone understands. And never, ever let anyone steal your thunder. You earned it. Claim it. The world is waiting for what only you can create. She hit send and closed the laptop. Through the window, the Capitol building was illuminated against the night sky, a symbol of power and possibility. Charlotte Bennett had transformed from a woman whose husband chose a mistress into a woman who chose herself. And in that choice, she had found not just success, but freedom. The phoenix had risen, and she was magnificent. So that's how Charlotte Bennett went from betrayed wife to tech billionaire, from jail cell to award stage, from erased to unforgettable. If this story fired you up, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me, could you forgive Sienna? Would you take the plea deal? I'm curious what you'd do. Share this with anyone who's ever been underestimated, stolen from, or told they don't matter. Let's remind them and ourselves that phoenixes are real. Subscribe for more comeback stories that prove bad guys don't always win. See you next time. Stay strong out there. When Madison Rivers stepped forward, her press badge swinging. Mr. Hale, can you comment on your relationship with Miss Vaughn? Sienna is our brilliant new chief brand officer, Ethan said smoothly. My wife has chosen to step back from the company to focus on preparing for motherhood. We support her decision completely. The words hit Charlie like a physical blow. I never stepped back. I finished the entire artificial intelligence platform last night. I wrote your pitch deck. Ethan's jaw tightened, his smile growing sharper. Charlotte, you're not well. Security. Two men in black suits appeared from nowhere, One of them touched Charlie's elbow. Ma'am, Mr. Hala has asked us to escort you out. You're causing a disturbance? A disturbance, this is my company too. But the security guards were already guiding her away, firm hands on her arms. The crowd parted. Some faces showed pity, others curiosity. A few barely concealed glee at the spectacle. Charlie twisted to look back and saw Sienna staring after her, conflict written across her face. Then Ethan pulled Sienna toward the ballroom entrance, his hand on her back, and the moment was gone. The security guards deposited Charlie in the parking garage, her silver dress dragging on the concrete. The heavy door slammed shut behind her, cutting off the music and laughter. She stood alone in the fluorescent-lit garage, the sound of her ragged breathing echoing off concrete pillars. Her phone buzzed with notifications. She pulled it out with shaking hands. Twitter was exploding. #PregnantWifeGate. #Hale Industries. Someone had already uploaded video of her confronting Ethan. The comments were vicious. She's so dramatic. Pregnancy made her crazy. He upgraded. Charlie's vision blurred with tears. She opened her email app and found the message she was dreading. The sender, Hale Industries, A department. Subject, access revoked.